The Tusculan Papacy was a period of papal history from 1012 to 1048 where three successive Counts of Tusculum installed themselves as pope. Background: Theophylacti, Count of Tusculum, his wife Theodora, and daughter Marozia held great sway over the appointment of popes from 904 to 964. The lovers of Theodora and Marozia, as well as the son and grandson of Marozia, rose to the papacy during this period. However, a Count of Tusculum had not yet attempted to appoint himself as pope until 1012. The rivals, a Crescenti, had taken over the papacy from 974 to 1012, according to Cushing, in many ways. Increasing respect for papal authority from the mid-10th century to mid-11th centuries can be best viewed through the spectrum of two Roman families, the Crescentians and the Tusculans, whose control of the papacy would have important ramifications for both the control and direction of reform. Both the Crescenti and the Counts of Tusculum were descended from Theophylacti, the former papal Vestararius. The Crescenti had cooperated with German Emperors Theophanu and Otto III, Holy Roman Emperor, who resided in Rome from 999 to 1001. The Tusculans did not expropriate church property to increase the already substantial holdings of the family. In fact, they appear to have expended their own resources to increase the power of the papacy, according to Luscombe and Riley Smith, in contrast to the Crescentians, who had largely relied on the entrenchment of their own dynasty and the supporters in the Duchy of Rome as secular magnates and landowners, often at the expense of the temporal power of the Roman Church. The Tusculans used the secular power and successes to shore up the standing of the papacy among the Roman nobility. The position of patrician, so important to Crescentian rule, remained vacant. Abbot Odilo of Cluny flourished during this period, receiving support from Benedict the Eighth and John XIX for monastic community. The power of the Tusculan popes derived both from their assertions of papal supremacy and from their ability to balance power between the competing families of Rome. The Counts of Tusculum were centered at Tusculo, above Frascati, protected by an ancient fortress in Borghetto. The principal monasteries were Grottaferrata and Subiaco. They also controlled many churches and religious houses in and around Rome. History: Benedict the Eighth in 1012. Rome saw a violent political upheaval, then ended Crescenti domination and elevated Theophylact, the son of Gregory I, Count of Tusculum, as Pope Benedict the Eighth. Benedict the Eighth was a layman until his election. However, during his papacy he was a strong proponent of papal supremacy and frequently interfered in ecclesiastical matters on the Italian peninsula outside Rome. Benedict the Eighth's brother, Romanus, was the city prefect. Alberic was responsible for overseeing courts of justice in the imperial palatinate near Santa Sabina. Gregory I had been a figure in the court of Otto III, Holy Roman Emperor, as the naval prefect, and Alberic had been the master of the imperial palace. Quote, other Roman families still held important offices. The Stefaniani family held the prefecture of Rome and the Ottaviani retained the rectorate of Sabina. Among Benedict VIII's first acts as pope was a military campaign against the strongholds of the Crescenti around Rome. The Crescenzi fortresses in Sabina were demolished. A Crescenti faction set up a rival to Benedict VIII, anti-Pope Gregory VI. John Crescentius still remained the prefect of Rome, but was soon dispossessed of much of his property. Benedict VIII was an ally of Henry II, Holy Roman Emperor. He called upon the emperor to visit Rome, which he did in late 1013. A synod convoked by the emperor deposed the Archbishop of Ravenna, who was replaced with Arnulf, a half-brother. Benedict the Eighth and the Emperor met in Ravenna, and then proceeded to Rome. Benedict the Eighth confirmed his privileges at Bamberg and crowned him on February 14, 1014 as emperor in a ceremony in Old St. Peter's Basilica. These 12 people, calling themselves the Senate of Rome, had doubtlessly consented to the coronation before it occurred. Benedict the Eighth visited Henry II in Bamberg in 1020, and the emperor came to Italy the following year. In Bamberg, Henry issued the Henricianum, which repeated the Diploma Ottonianum, which itself had repeated donations of land which date back to the Frankish papacy. The Henricianum, as much as the forged donation of Constantine, played a central role in papal territorial and sovereignty claims in the coming centuries. Just as Henry II was promising the Pope this territory, the Pope was being deprived of nearly all of his temporal power by the armies of John Patricius, and competing hereditary counts had sprung up on both sides of the Tiber. While the Tusculans remained strong in the Latin mountains, the Counts of Segni controlled Campania, the Crescenti held Sabina, the Counts of Galeria controlled Tuscany, and Thrasmundus, Beridus, and Odorisis retained the Marsian territory as far as Subiaco. According to Gregorovius, of the dominions founded for them by the Carolingians, the popes possessed little beyond the yellow deeds of gift in their archives. In 1016, a Pisan and Genoese fleet defeated the Arabs, in a victory which Benedict the Eighth may have something to do with. He also possibly schemed with the Normans against the Byzantines in southern Italy. Benedict the Eighth himself led an allied force against Musitis, who escaped after the Battle of Luni. However, in 1018, Melo, the leader of the rebellion against the Greeks, was defeated. The Germans honored the Henricianum in 1022 by sending their own army to southern Italy. In 1022, Benedict the Eighth held with Henry II a council in Ravenna which issued stringent prohibitions against clerical concubinage. John the 19th, Benedict the Eighth's brother Romanus, succeeded him as Pope John the 19th. John the 19th did not resign his secular titles upon his election as Pope. Documents would refer to him not as Senator, but as Count Palatine and Consul. Quote, according to Cushing, John the 19th was somewhat less adept than his brother in cooperating with Henry II's successor, Conrad II, Holy Roman Emperor, but was by no means a puppet. John the 19th was open to rapprochement with Byzantine Emperor Basil II and was willing to declare the Patriarch of Constantinople an ecumenical bishop. The Italian bishops and congregation of Cluny, however, opposed such moves. Benedict IX. Pope Benedict IX. was the nephew of Benedict the Eighth and John the 19th. Norwood Young calls Benedict IX. the Nero of the Tusculan Papacy. Absolute power appears to paralyze the brain if applied at an early age. Quote, according to Cushing, the report of crimes and deviance became ever more squalid as the latter reformers grew in power, but was for the first 12 years of his papacy adequate and credible, if not perhaps immensely pious. Another interpretation of his first 12 years is provided by successive Victor III, leading a life so shameful, so foul, so execrable that he shuddered to describe it. He ruled like a captain of banditti, rather than a prelate. Adulteries, homicides perpetrated by his own hand, passed unnoticed, unrevenged, for the patrician of the city, Gregory, was the brother of the Pope, and another brother, Peter, an active partisan. The oppressed people at length grew weary of his robberies, murders, and abominations. They rose and drove him from the city, and proceeded to the election of John, Bishop of Sabina, who took the name Sylvester III. By autumn 1044, the position of Benedict the Ninth was seriously threatened by the creation of Pope Sylvester III. In May 1045, Benedict the Ninth resigned the papacy in favor of John Gratian, who became Pope Gregory VI. Henry III, Holy Roman Emperor, met Gregory VI in 1046 and received him favorably. By December, however, Henry III had changed his mind and ordered Benedict IX, Sylvester III, and Gregory VI to appear before him in a Snildin Sutri. Gregory VI was the only one to show up, and he was declared guilty of simony and deposed on December 20. Sylvester III had long since given up being pope and returned to acting as bishop of Sabina, but he too was deprived of his orders and forced to retire to a monastery. 3 days later, in Rome, Benedict IX was excommunicated for simony, and Henry III's candidate, Bishop Suiger of Bamberg, was installed as Pope Clement II. Aftermath. According to Cowdery, the decline of the Tusculans and Crescentians was to a limited extent balanced by the emergence of newer families which were to provide valuable support for Gregory VII and the popes that followed him, including the Frangipani family and Pierleone family. Legacy. The Tusculan Papacy shaped other aspects of papal policy far beyond the reigns of the Tusculan popes themselves. The chancery underwent important changes, and the Filo clause was introduced. A synod following Henry II's coronation in 1014 agreed to adopt the Frankish custom of reciting the Nicene Creed along with other prayers at Mass on Sundays and other holidays.